What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and in this interview with Lee Priest, Australia's greatest bodybuilder of all time, we discuss his numerous bans from the IFBB, insane stories from his personal life and behind the scenes of the IFBB in the 90s and 2000s, dispelling crazy rumors. He discusses his cycles, plus what's life like as a typical IFBB Pro Bodybuilder, plus also how he changed the Mr. Olympia prize money forever. This is part one of part two. Guys, hope you enjoy the interview. What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and today I am joined by Australia's best pro bodybuilder of all time, in my opinion at least. Anyway, I'm pleased to be welcomed by Lee Priest. Lee, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you going?
I'm good. First time interviewing. This is like third time lucky. First time I was absolutely wrecked because my daughter just allowed me 1 hour of sleep the night before, and then the second time my microphone wasn't working. So third time it's actually working, but I almost wasn't able to do it today because my internet's actually not working at home as well. So I'm using my phone's internet, but
oh my God.
we're making it happen.
When you texting went 5 minutes, I'm like, oh God, another Dave Palumbo. Dave's
Yeah,
always like that. I'll get up at 4 a.m. to do it with Dave. I'm like, you ready, Dave? 5 minutes. I'm like, you ready, Dave? Another 15 minutes. I'm like, fucking hell, I got up at 4 a.m.
I know he batches a lot of his stuff together, so I know he will have like interview after interview, and then everyone else will be late, and then he looks like the late one as well. I bet that's a case of all that sort of stuff. But I basically want to give sort of everyone a rundown of how you got into bodybuilding, because you've been into it obviously for a long time now, and you know you still, while you're not competing and haven't competed in a while, you're still very much in the industry, still obviously looking very big and looking like you're a pro bodybuilder right now. So how did you find bodybuilding? How did Lee Priest, I suppose, start in the sport? Because I've seen photos of you very, very young getting into the sport.
I got into it really. Well, I did all the other things when I was younger, like karate and stuff, but I didn't like karate because like when I train my whole life, I hate making a noise. I never scream in the gym, but doing karate, you know how you got to yell and that when you do your katas and stuff, and I just don't like drawing attention. So I quit that. I did magic school for a while, and then I hated going on stage doing magic tricks because I figured I'm going to fuck the trick up and somebody will see how it's done. So I quit that. I used to do rugby. And then about the time I was doing rugby, I got into the weights a little bit too. Then a couple of times I got injured playing rugby. So I figured, well, it's no good for training. One bad time, a guy came over my neck and my neck went down and cracked a few times. I had to wear a neck brace for 2 weeks. So I figured that's no good. So around, would have been 13 still, I just started lifting weights, going to the gym, and started developing pretty easy. So they said there was a schoolboys division under 18s at the this was with the World Physique Federation. So I did like 3 contests that year at the age of 13 and won them. And then when I was 14, I did a men's open and placed third in a men's open up in northern New South Wales. And then 15, I won the state titles, and that just sort of went from there. I did other local shows too, like the Mr. Newcastle and that. And 16 was, I was sick of dieting. So 16 was probably my first year I bulked up and got heavy. 17 is when I won my first Mr. Australia. And then I got second in the Carlos Rodriguez AAU Mr. Universe in Tucson, Arizona. And that's actually where I first met Milos. He was competing in the Mr. Universe too at the same time in 1989. But even when I was 17, my mum, I hadn't been competing now for 4 years or so, and my mum was like me. She loves eating food, and that's just really heavy and plump. And she's like, if I get in shape, will you do the couples? And I'm like, thinking to myself, I don't want to be seen dead on stage with my mum. So I'm like, yeah, you get in shape and I'll do it with you. Thinking she never would. 8 months later, she diets down and gets shredded. So I had to do the couples with her. And it ended up being the first things in Australia when I was 17,
You just dropped out a bit.
and 19. But this whole time I won it, they said I was too young to get a pro card. So I ended up going to America with Lou Zuick. They used to have the show on ESPN. I went to a lecture show, and then probably people have heard I was in Gold's and roughly, and he sort of come and asked me who I was and what I was doing. I told him who I was and what I'd won and doing the answer. Like, well, you should have your pro card if you won your national title. I said, yeah, but they said I was too young. So I think he spoke to Wayne and then spoke to Paul Graham and that they gave me my pro card, and I ended up doing the Niagara Falls Pro Show. And like I said, I only planned on going to America for 2 weeks. And then when I was at Gold's, Ed Connors took some photos of me because I was shooting with Irvin Gelb for Muscle Mag. Sent those photos to Joe Weider, and I got a contract. So 2 weeks turned into 18 years. I turned 20 when I was over there. So I got my pro card just when I was 20.
That's incredible. And you mentioned obviously Ed Connors as well, who I've interviewed and talked to before. And he's been amazing to so many bodybuilders. And, you know, he has people, I think he's had like 700 odd bodybuilders stay at his place in Venice.
And he's doing that book. So that book's going to be interesting when he brings that book out. I know he's doing a book on a lot of his house guests and stuff. And Ed sometimes always thought I was a little bit, not arrogant, but just because, you know, Ed likes having everyone in the house together and they can swap stories and that. And me, I like to keep to myself. And if I don't really know somebody, I'm sort of standoffish and that. So, you know, he'd have other body. I think, I can't remember who he had there once, but, you know, because I'm not the side too, because Ed's like, Lee, when they come in here, the Europeans, and that you can discuss diets and that. And I'm like, you know, what works for me, I know what works for me. I'm not really interested in knowing what other stuff and gear and that. And the whole time people never discuss drugs, even to this day, even when I knew Flex and Chris Cormier and all those guys, when we go to the firehouse, I never once discussed steroid cycles, but yet sadly, that's all young kids want to talk about these days is drugs. I never read a steroid handbook. Whatever I used when I was 19, 20, like the DECA and the tests and all that sort of stuff, I just kept using for my whole pro career. I did growth hormone twice, 94 and 96. And because I was probably still young, I only used like 2 IUs and then the next time 4, I got nothing from it. So I figured I'm not wasting my money on that again. So I've never used it since. Now I'm 49, going 50. Now I might try growth hormone later on, but I've got more. I might benefit now that I'm getting older. But yeah, when I was young, I only tried that twice. But all my cycles were just the basic drugs and that in very small amounts. But people don't believe that either. So you know, it's just crazy the way it goes in the sport now. But you know, it's still a good sport. If you, like I said, you can do it healthy if you want to do it. But you know, but sadly now, who knows? And we see sadly a lot of guys dying today and different things. I'm sure bodybuilding and the drugs aren't the only thing, you know, that might have had underlying conditions, but people go, oh, look at you guys all dying. I think, yeah, well, they're guys from my era, sadly, that some of them are dying. So I'm thinking, well, if the young kids are doing more now and using a lot more now, who's to say in 20 years time, 15 years time, they're going to be dropping dead a lot more than my era was dropping dead. So.
Yeah, and that's scary as well. Now you obviously are a guy that's been, surrounded by controversy pretty much throughout your career in many different aspects.
No.
And stuff like that. Just a little bit. But I've heard so many rumors as well about you. And you mentioned obviously when you tried growth hormone and all that sort of stuff. I've heard a rumor that you were given growth hormone when you were really young and you were actually going to be a dwarf, and that's what made you not be a dwarf and all that sort of stuff. So what's the crazy rumors like?
Well, that one there you mentioned, I just thought, you remember Andy Cunningham?
Yes.
Because Andy and I trained for years and years, and Andy and I actually started that rumor that when I was born, I was like a dwarf baby. Actually, almost from when I was born, there was something wrong with me. So the umbilical cord that connected me and my mother, they got that because there's so much hormones and that in that. They used that and ground into a fine powder and made this, thing for me from the government. So I was funded by the government. People should have realized I was on growth hormone at that age. I'd be taller than 5'5.5" if I was on growth all those years. So so we started a lot of these rumors. We made them up ourselves, and people come and go, Lee, I heard you on this. Have you heard that? I said, yeah. And that's the funny thing with me. People should know by now from when I was young, I always got in trouble for telling the truth. And even, my mum always told me to tell the truth. But as I got older, my mum's like, maybe you're a bit too truthful. You should maybe cut back a bit because it's going to get you in trouble. I'm like, I don't give a shit. If someone asked me a question, that's why over the years I was, what's his name was on, Ron Harris was on live today, and I went on just said hello. He's like, that's Lee. And someone goes, what's it like working with Lee? And he's like, oh, that was entertaining for sure. Lee's never, Lee would just say whatever. He's not PC and this and that. And Ron even said, even though when we do the articles for muscular development, he'd call me up and I'd talk, but he'd be the one to write it. He goes, even I got in trouble for writing Lee's articles, even though I wasn't the one saying it, because I wrote it, he would get in trouble. And I've always been like, if I just put it out there, whether it be, like he even said, my sex life, this and that or whatever, sort of things like that, people, like if I tell people, there's nothing to be held over my head. It's not like someone can go, I know this about you, Lee, I'm going to tell people. I'm like, I already have told people, if people are still going about that. cocaine story I was telling Dave once.
That was hilarious,
I
by the
tried cocaine. I was sitting there watching porn. Yeah, people still bring it up now. You got any shoelaces, Lee? Because like, I said, this is the funniest thing ever. I'm watching porn, yelling at the screen like they can hear me, doing cocaine. I'm thinking, okay, now you can't do anything. Anyone that's done cocaine, after a while, you fucking go soft like that. And I'm thinking, sitting there playing with a fucking marshmallow like a Twizzler. I figured, what can I do? So I'm sitting there naked on the floor. My cat's on the couch judging me. I could tell the cat was judging me. I got the coffee table there, the lube there, like a fucking darrow. And I think, oh, it's going soft. I looked at my shoe, a shoelace. That's how I get this brilliant idea. I'll tie the end of it around the end of my knob and the other end on the coffee table. So I stretched it out as far as I could to the coffee table. You ever see those movies where the barber sharpens his blade on the lever? That's me stroking it while it's tied to the coffee table. And then I'm doing a few more lines of coke, and then I think that just pops in my head. Fuck, Lee, you've never done this before. What happens if you die? And this is the image my mother's going to find of me sitting naked on the floor and my cock tied to the coffee table. And I could just imagine my mum goes for coffee with her friends and they say, how did your son pass away? I like to hear that story. Even the ambulance walking in finding me.
It's one time when someone would have said he died of steroids, you would have probably been okay with. You know what I mean? Like, even if it wasn't, like, that's the one time. Because that is like,
it wouldn't have been the cocaine on the table or your fucking cock tied to a coffee table with a shoelace or shit like that. It'd be like, okay.
Oh, that's a crazy story, and I think that's a story that probably people have weird stories like that, but they just don't tell other people. And you say
to me, because it's like, yeah, I just say because like, look, I'm not embarrassed about it. There's nothing I've done in my life that I've been embarrassed about and shit because I did it. I had fun at the time doing it. Would I do it again like that? No, but it's like, to me, it's all life experiences. And if people ask me, I tell them. It's not like I'm going to go, well, I shouldn't say that. And, if someone's going to judge me on that, fuck them. Because like you said, people have got shit in their closets they'll never talk about. But yet, somebody want to tell them that story. Someone's probably like, oh, I've done something similar. Or, I'm just glad I had shoelaces and didn't use a Velcro shoe. That could have been a bit worse. So,
I think everyone has like crazy trip stories or some sort of like drug stories or even just like alcohol stories, you know what I mean, that are pretty sort of out there. So I know I've got some that I've told to some people.
I tried that once. I tried that only ever once, that fucking the trips, like the little bit of cardboard shit. And I'm thinking, how can this little bit of cardboard do anything? I put it in there and next thing, well, fuck.
It's like LSD sort of stuff?
Yeah. I'm seeing like fucking spider webs and they're all fucking going multicolored, and I shut my eyes and I'm like, oh shit. So I went to the toilet to take a piss. I think I'm feeling dizzy. I'll sit down. As I'm sitting on the toilet, I'm lifting my feet up. My wife will she goes, what you do? I said, the fucking floor's raising up like an elevator. And then the next thing I go back out, she's on the couch. She goes, what did I said? I can't talk. I've got to go save the universe. When I'm sitting there spinning out there, my muscles are twitching. I thought, fuck, I got to piss again. So I went to piss, and as I'm there, she hears me howling. And she goes, what are you howling for? I said, you're never going to believe this. I said, I found my spirit animal. I'm a wolf. She goes, you're a wolf? I said, yeah, I'm taking a fucking piss, and this fucking wolf head's looking out at the toilet at me, and it's fucking talking to me. So,
it's crazy how it can actually trick your brain into thinking these sorts of things, some of this stuff. Like it's mind-blowing.
But then I said, and then the person I got off, after about 3 hours, I'm like, oh, this is suck. It's just like too fucking weird. And then, like I said, my body's twitching, my feet feel like it's all. I said, call him up, see how long does this shit last for? And they said to my wife, how long has he been up? Or they're like, oh, 3 hours. They're like, oh, he's got at least another 3 or 4 to go. I'm like, oh, yeah, but I couldn't believe that this tiny fucking piece of cardboard would fucking.
Yeah.
I don't know people, like I said, this is where I'm lucky, even when it's come to steroids or shit like that. I've never had that addictive personality where I need it. Yes, it felt weird and good, but I've never had that personality where, fuck, I've got to do it again. It's like, it's one of those things. I tried pot once and didn't get shit off from that. So I was just like, tried some brownies once and that just made my head feel a bit spacey. But I just prefer to be in control and know what I'm doing. But as I said, it's good to experience, but I wouldn't, it's not something I'd be racing out to do. If like I was at a party and someone's like, oh, Lee, we've got trips, I'd be like, nah, been there. I don't need to see the wolf. I don't need to see the wolf again.
I think once you get scared enough as well, people are a bit more hesitant to try some things. I've been scared.
By the time, like I said, I've never done anything hard, but I tried a bit of MDMA once, same sort of thing. I'm laying on the bed. This was years ago, and you feel it coming on. I'm like, and my heart's starting to race. I'm like, oh fuck, I don't like it. I'm trying to fight, and the more I fight it, the worse I got. I just went with it, and I'm laying there. I wasn't moving. I'm just laying there like spaced out like a space cadet. I'm like, oh fuck, I got to go pee. I get up, and the bed is just like fucking saturated from sweat. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't even know I was sweating. And then I'm like, oh fuck, the time's going slow, and I'm just laying there spacing out. And when I go up again, I'm like, from like if I took it at night from 9 to 11 seemed to be like 10 hours. And when I took a piss at 11, I laid back down and I got a piss again. And when I got up, I'm like, 4 a.m. I'm like, how the fuck did I get to 4 a.m.? It's like the time to whether I zoned out somewhere or God knows what happened. It's like, no, I don't sort of like that sort of feel. I don't know how people can do it all the time, or even getting drunk. I've been probably drunk 3 times my whole life, and even that, I'm like, ugh. That's just like, now I've never liked the taste of alcohol. If you put it in, one of those fancy drinks where you can't taste it, like mix it with fruit juice and make it really fancy, but just the taste of alcohol, I'm like,
yeah, some are pretty brutal, especially when you've had bad experiences with it too. It's just like turns you straight off. But going back to your early years, getting back on track with his interview.
Where do we go there?
Obviously, you mentioned your mum, who obviously competed, with you, which is pretty awesome to say. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you said, "Oh, I don't want to compete with my mum," but it's something I'm sure you look back on now and be like, "That was pretty damn," and obviously she's probably been a big supporter of you, it seems like. And I remember when you did your Generation 9 documentary, which I know you're not the biggest fan of, there was stuff in there, and they actually posted up a video, and I think I actually mentioned in one of my videos about them saying, like, I don't know what they said about what your mum said about you or something, but basically they said something that your mum actually didn't even say. And everyone in the comments of that video basically flamed Generation 9, and I was pissed too. Like, I was pissed for you. You know what I mean?
Well, I was hoping that was going to be so good, but then they interviewed my training partners. I was like, guys that I've known my whole life, even, and being for like Andy was on there, but the guys I train with regularly now and stuff like that, they interviewed them, didn't put them on there. Yeah, it was nice having Jay Cutler on there, but Jay only knows me as like, hi, how you going? We're not like close friends. So a lot of the stuff they didn't put in was just weird. And then I even told them the title I didn't like, Lee Priest versus bodybuilding. I'm like, why is it me versus bodybuilding? I was never against bodybuilding or versus it type stuff. So we're right now, Gary Phillips and that, who did Chris Cormier's, we're working on doing a new one. So that should be a lot better. It'll be more my story and how it really should be. And, people that actually know me and stuff like that in the new one. So it'll be a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Now, I didn't know, I can cut this out if you want to, but your father actually came out as being openly gay. And that's something that not many people obviously experience, having, obviously you have to have children and be with a woman if you're biologically going to, be a father, So how did that shape you or change you, or did that experience maybe open your eyes and make you more accepting of certain things? Like, how is that
I think it actually opened my eyes and just became more accepting, because to me, it's like that. What I hear, I was even like years ago, and you hear gay people can't raise kids, that they'll turn out gay. Like, my dad will have friends over, and they all had kids. They've all been married, and none of them are gay. So it doesn't matter how you're at a young age. When I talk to him about it, and his friends would tell me, 14, 13, they knew gay, they're attracted to men, not women. So it's not like something you decide, like today's crowd, they want to be gender fluid or non-binary. It's the in thing. But, back then, like, he's been with his partner now. He's probably like 7 years with Greg. So he's probably at least 40. At first, I didn't know. This is why they say, when they put all this stuff in cartoons today for young kids, like a gay this or transsexual. So it opens young kids' minds. Trust me, young kids just want to watch frigging cartoons. So leave all the gay, lesbian shit out of it, because kids don't understand. People are trying to put an adult's head into a kid's mind. And look, they'll learn about it later on in life, because my mum told me when I was about 12 that he was gay. And I went, okay, that's cool. Still my dad, didn't bother me. But up until then, if you're young, you'd have your mates come over from school. They'd have a sleepover. You'd watch movies. Back in those days, with the old VHS tapes and beta. So you'd come over and have a video night, and your friends would stay. So in my mind, that's my dad's friends staying over. I never thought they're sleeping together or any type of relationship. I just thought that's my dad's best friend, Greg, and he sleeps over a lot. So that's all I figured, because, as I said, kids don't think that's sexual shit, which they're trying to push on them today and make them. I said, kids don't think that. So when they told me, I went, that's good, it didn't bother me, and never has bothered me today. My cousin I used to ride horses with. That's another thing I used to do, ride horses. And I won ribbons riding horses when I was younger. I used to ride horses and stuff. Yeah. So, and he was ended up being a transsexual and stuff like that. So yeah, I've always been accepting of everyone. That's why I always laugh when people say Lee doesn't like these people or Lee's racist and this and that. I'm the furthest from any of that. I just accept everybody. To me, it's like if you're, assholes come in all shapes and sizes and races and shit like that. To me, I don't care what race you are, what religion you are. If you're a nice person, you're a nice person. And I judge people on character, not on skin color or whatever else. So that's why I always like, yeah, I make off-colored jokes. I might make racist jokes about all races. So it's not like I single a race out. So just the way I am. But I've always said too, there's a difference between making a joke, like the old days, you could joke, you could say this and say that. To now, well, you can't say that. That could upset these people. That might upset those people. Some of the funniest jokes are shit we can relate to because, yes, it could be that off color. It might be that thing, whether it be someone's mental state you're talking about or someone's body type you're talking about. But I said, you know what? Just get over it. That's a joke. Fucking laugh. Everyone's so serious today and wants to cancel everybody over silly shit. I think, back in the day of Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy's Raw and Delirious and stuff like that, imagine how they would be cancelled today, or even some of the movies, or even Kingswood Country here, or I'm sure Al Bundy, Married with Children these days would be not allowed because of, the male, the way they're talking to the wives and this and that. It's just crazy that people just don't understand what having a laugh is, and just, it's not that serious. Just enjoy life, for God's sakes. There's worse shit going on now than just someone having a laugh or making a joke. We all make jokes about everybody. It's not just white people, as America would have you believe today that everyone in America is racist. So, but everyone makes jokes about every type of, black people make fun of white people, and Mexicans make fun of white people and black people. It's like, who cares? It's fucking jokes.
Yeah, exactly. And the line's always moving too, to be more conservative. So I always find that, what we said 10 years ago is not okay now. And it's like, where's the line? I never know where it is. And sometimes even when stuff has happened or it's been called out as being racist, obviously what you did with the mask and the Sean Ray thing, that was a big thing that came up. And, people can make their own decision if they think that's okay or not.
But even when that came up, that's like Lee being blackface. It's like, blackface is like, when you look at blackface, it's like the minstrels, you put on the black makeup and you're trying to be. I said, putting on a black mask, that's being a character. I said, no one worried about the Wayans brothers when they did White Chicks and shit like that. Or if I was to put on if I'm going to be someone, if I just put on a pair of sunglasses and acted like an asshole, you'd think it was Lee Priest being an asshole in sunglasses. You wouldn't know I'm trying to be Sean Ray, would you? So it's
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, if you're trying to,
people take it so, like I said, people just try and look for this shit. And when you say the line's being moved, I'm like, who's the one moving this line? It didn't need to be moved, because back in my day, and I hate saying back in my day, we understood the difference between having a laugh, comedy, and actually abusing somebody and being downright racist and shit towards someone and shit like that. So it's just, I don't know, just this whole, it's like people go looking for shit now. So even the smallest things are trying to cancel someone for what they said 20 years ago. And it's like, why people go looking back for that stuff? It's like, it's just like I said, there's bigger things in the world to worry about than what somebody said. Or I even remember, it was silly. Remember when Arnold was governor of California? Now, Arnold's not homophobic. Arnold's sure got heaps of gay friends. But remember the time he just made that comment, girly men, like on that Hans and Franz thing that used to be on, all you girly men. He said that. The next thing, Arnold's homophobic. Arnold's making fun of the gay people. It's like, oh, Jesus. It's just people are looking for any little thing just to have a go at somebody.
Absolutely. And it's news stories too, like I know now doing what I do, like I have this sort of mindset where I'm like looking for stories and I see certain things and I go, okay, well, I know certain news like places would make a story out of this, but I won't. But I'm like, I can see how people that make these news stories and make these things a big deal actually do it, because they're hunting for stories, they're hunting for clicks and all that sort of stuff. If they say Lee Priest is racist, it's like they know that's going to get clicks, they know that's going to get hits, and that means more traffic to the website, which means.
And then if I come on and go, I can't be racist because my best friend Kurt, who's a brother to me, he's black. Oh, there you go. You got black friends, so you can't be racist. And I think to myself sometimes, well, you know what a racist is? It's like they generally don't like black people or anyone else of any other color or whatever. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I'm a white guy and I have Kurt, who I call a brother, who's black. I was married to a black woman who was a Muslim. And then I've had lots of black friends like Chris Cormier and we got on great. flex wheel. I said, so I've got all these black friends. I said, if I'm a white person with all these black friends and you call me racist, what is it that I need to do to prove that I'm not racist? Then with if having black friends doesn't make me not racist, then what is? It's like a true racist would not be hanging out with fucking black people and having black friends and shit like that. Having Paul Dillett come live with me, helping Melvin Anthony out when he had no money, giving him food and supplements and shit like that. So it's like I said, if I'm a racist and I got that many black friends and helped that many black people out, well, shit, the KKK is going to take back my membership card now, aren't they? Now I'll never be Green Dragon.
Yeah.
People get mad at me now because I've said, if say you're a 30-year-old white guy in America now, or a 30-year-old African American, or 30-year-old Mexican, or anything like that, in America today, if you're not where you want to be, that's because of you. You have all the opportunities to do what you want to do and be and make something of yourself. If you're not where you want to be, that's because of you. It's not because of anybody else. No one's holding you back. Generally now, if you're a minority over there, if you're a transgender or gay or these new whatever, you've probably got more rights because everyone's too scared to say no to you. So it's like, people just need to get a grip. It's like I said, learn from the past, don't live in it. And like I said, when I lived there, I don't think I knew any racist. It's like, to me, I'd probably say 95, 96% of Americans get on with everyone. Everyone has a job. They go to work. They want to take care of their family. If they meet someone, they're nice to them. I didn't see what these Nancy Pelosi is calling now, all this white supremacy, systemic racism in America. And people are like, oh, you don't know, it's like you haven't been put over. Yes, I got put over 3 times going to the bad area of LA because it was generally a black area. My sis lived down in that area, down like Crenshaw and that, right down the other end of Venice. And I got pulled over 3 times. The cop pulls me over. I got one cop got a gun on me from one side.
For real?
And I said, oh, they go, yeah. They said, you know, we pulled you over. I said, no. They go, well, generally, see, I got the opposite side. Generally, when we see a white guy in a really nice car, because they had nice cars back then, in this part of town, you're either selling drugs or buying drugs. And I was like, no, I'm just going to my masseuse. And I had his business card with the address on. They're like, okay, take care, be on your way. So, you know, it goes both ways. It's type of thing. And that's like too, when they'd say, well, you don't know what it's like. We go into stores and people watch us. And I'm thinking, yeah, but it's probably the area you're in, because say I'm a store owner and the African Americans come in, they're polite, they buy stuff, they leave. The white people buy stuff. Let's just say Asians come in, young Asian teenagers, and they steal shit all the time. Yes, I'm going to watch them more closely when they come in. Even the ones that aren't, you're going to be a bit more wary. I'm sure if a black store owner owned a store and the white young kids come in and stole all the time, you're going to watch them a bit more closely. It's got nothing to do with your race or skin color. It's just got, if that's who steals mostly from your store, that's who you're going to watch when they come into your store. It's like, you know, if junkies come into your store and they steal stuff all the time, the junkie type person is the person you're going to watch the most that comes in. So I think these days people are just, like I said, it's just crazy. Everyone has the opportunities today to do what they want in America. Like I said, America is the land of opportunity, no matter who you are, because there are so many people have made. And that's what sort of upsets me, because people like Oprah who try and say now America's systemically racism. Now, I'm sure Oprah had to do with a lot of racism coming up in her time when she was younger. And then she goes into a profession like TV media, which was male dominated. So she's going to be probably put down just for being a female, but yet for all her adversities, she fucking made it. She's a billionaire. So why can't these people say, yes, you're going to get a lot of knockbacks? All people do, white, Mexican, whoever, Asian, everyone gets knockbacks, but you just keep going and keep going. And you can get there, rather than these big sports stars worth multi-millions of dollars living in $30 million mansions saying America's racism, you can't get anywhere in America if you're black and that. It's like, you're fucking earning $100 million a year playing basketball or doing shit. Why don't you tell these people you can be anything you want to be? Yes, you're going to come across assholes along the way, but not everyone's like that. But if you have a dream and you work towards that dream and, you know, try hard enough, you can achieve it, rather than just say, oh, you should give up now because the white man has white privilege, you're never going to get any way over him. That's a load of bullshit, you know. It's like some of the biggest people now who are doing good in America, same as Australia, are the Asians, because they have that work ethic where they study hard, they do this and do that. If you look at the America now, the Asians are way above the white people and stuff like that. So to say that, you know, white people are keeping everyone down is stupid. And then you see the mayors in these cities. You have a mayor, I think, who was she? In one mayor where the mayor's black, the district attorney is black, the chief of police is black. Everyone that runs this city is black, and they're trying to say the white man's keeping people down. I'm thinking, it's your city. All the people in the highest positions are black. So how can you say the city's racist? you're the ones running it. It's like you got voted into those positions by a majority white people in the community. So it's just, I think, sadly, I think it's the media more than anything pushing the narrative too, wherever it comes to COVID, unvaccinated, vaccinated, where now it comes to, races and stuff. The media likes to cause a divide. Even when it was like Trump and this, if you support Trump, you're racist, and it's this. So it's like the media's just dividing people, and you've got people who used to be friends now hating each other, who they voted for, if they don't believe in COVID, or if they do believe in COVID. It's just like I said, the media is just dividing everybody, and everyone's just sitting back going nuts. It's like people just need to come together, because no one's better than anyone, whether your race, religion, if you're a multi-millionaire or you just work as a plumber. We're all human. Just because you might be multi-millionaire and you're a plumber, everyone's still the same. No one's better than anybody else. So it's just stupid. I used to say, as a pro bodybuilder, people are like, oh, you're a pro bodybuilder. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'm just like you. You come to the gym to work out. I come to the gym to work out. Yes, my genetics, and I was lucky enough to be a pro, but that doesn't make me any better than you at the gym. It's like I always say, if I'm trained, because I see a lot of pros with the ego and they're like, you know who I am. I was like, yeah, fuck off, you're a pro bodybuilder. What you fucking do? But it's like I tell people, in all my years I've trained to this day, I've never asked somebody how many sets you got or what, how long you got in this machine. Because if I've got to do a pec deck and I'm doing chest and somebody's on it, I don't go ask them how many sets. I can go do flies, flat, incline, decline. I can go do another pressing movement. It's like when I get ready for Olympia, I might need a machine, but if a woman's on that machine, someone goes, I'll go ask her. I said, no, don't ask her. I said, look, that woman, her goal might be to lose 20 pounds. So to her, losing 20 pounds is just as important to her as me getting ready for the Mr. Olympia. So why do I get the machine over her? So I've never, like I said, I just can't stand people to think they're better than everybody else, because, well, I'm not, I'm a fucking dickhead. So, I don't think I'm better than anybody. I think I'm the biggest dickhead, so I should get that crown. So, just everyone's just equal, and everyone just needs to chill out and get along and live life and just have fun.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at things as well, because, like you said, like someone could be, an overweight person could be training and go, oh, well,
Exactly. Yeah.
That, oh, my goal is more important because I'm competing in an amateur
plastic trophy. Yeah.
And for them, it's like, oh, I'm trying to lose 50 kilos to save my life. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
That's actually more important than winning a plastic trophy. You know what I mean? So like you said,
that's what I can never understand when people go ask them how many sets. I'm like, no. I said, what do you got to do? Well, I got to do this for legs. I said, there's another 15 leg machines in here we can do. We can do lunges. We can do. Why do you need that one right now? Just go do something else. And when they're finished, go get the machine then. So, yeah, but I just didn't like that attitude when people go around pushing people off machines, or I got to use this and got to use that. Yes, okay. I guess in today's age, if someone's sitting on the machine for 10 minutes on their phone, then you probably politely ask them, hey, if you've done other things and you come back and it's still sitting there, then maybe ask them. But, don't just go and ask them because you're a pro bodybuilder. It's like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously you mentioned about moving to Venice and living in the US for many years. Now, did you live in Venice the whole sort of time, or did you move around a little bit?
Venice for maybe 8 years, and then I just moved to Lancaster, California, in the high desert, up near the Mojave Desert. Yep. I was up there for a couple of years, and then pretty much when Joe Gold passed away and stuff like that, and World Gym sort of closed down, it just wasn't the same anymore. So I moved out to Texas for almost 4 years, and then I moved from Texas to Scottsdale, Arizona for the last couple of years before I moved back home.
Yeah, where did you like most? Was it Venice or?
Venice was good, but I loved Austin, Texas. It sort of reminds me of Australia a lot of trees and green and lakes and stuff like that. People are sort of more down to, I found the Texans probably more down to earth and, more forward. Whereas California, it's a lot of shit to do there and stuff, but more people fake and that sort of thing. I don't like that sort of fakeness and people, hey, how you going? As soon as you turn your back, they're putting a knife in it type shit. It's like, if you don't like me, don't put on the act you like me. It's like, there's a lot of people I didn't like, but I was never rude to them. If I saw them, I'd be polite and say, how you going? But I'd never have a big conversation with them or be friendly, just the, that fakeness that people have. It's like, I just never liked that. And so I found Texas was really nice and open and just sort of people were more genuine there.
Yeah. Now, what did a typical day look like living as an IFBB pro, just say living in Venice?
Wake up. I'd wake up probably early. I'd be at the gym at like 5, 6 and just go train. And then once training was done, the rest of the day I'd either be eating, watching movies, going to the movies, eating, walk the dogs, watch TV. There wasn't much because, back then you had good contracts and stuff. So really it was just, eat and train. And you know, get big, and then I don't want to walk too far. I might burn too many calories because I'm bulking up type thing. So it's just like, I didn't do much at all. Pretty much whatever the day entailed. You know, later on, I got into the drag racing and stuff, and I enjoyed doing the road racing and won a few races there. Then I got into sort of circle track for a while and did okay there. But then I got into the dragsters, and first year doing that, I got like rookie of the year and third in the championship. And then the following year, I won the championship drag racing. So I had other things as well, just apart from bodybuilding, because I'm the type of person, when I wasn't really at the gym, most of my friends were just normal people. I couldn't stand people that just talk about bodybuilding 24/7, diet, food, drugs. I'm like, oh, fuck me, Dad, that must drive me mad that people talk about it. So I had other interests outside, but generally it's just general stuff. I like doing gardening and stuff and just pretty much chilling out. Nothing, you know, nothing crazy, just keeping to myself, which was always funny. People used to always say when they met me, it's so funny, Lee, because, you know, when people hear, yes, when I go on podcasts, I act stupid, act like a dickhead. Depending what podcast I'm on, I just fit into the mood type thing. But that's not who I really am in real life. Yes, I'm straightforward in real life, and I joke around and have a laugh and carry on silly. But when people meet me, because they've, you know, heard this, or they might read comments, so they have this perception of what I'm going to be like, and then generally say, oh, you're nothing like I thought you would be. This such and such told me this, or I read online you're like this, but you're pretty quiet and laid back. I'm like, yeah, I just keep to myself. You know, I'd go do guest posings, and I'm the type, I do my guest posing. When it's over, I like to go back to the hotel, because the hotel would have all the movie stations on, and, you know, you could catch the latest releases. So I'd go back there, and the promoter like, Lee, you want to go out for dinner? I'm like, no, I just eat at the hotel. Like, you don't want to go out to strip clubs or that? I'm like, no, I just want to go back to the hotel. They're like, oh, thank God. Then they list off names. We had such and such here and such, and we had to stay out to 4 a.m, taking around strip clubs and stuff. They're like, oh, it's great, Lee, you just want to go back to the hotel. I said, yeah, I'm happy to go back to the hotel. So even when, you know, Ed Connors would tell me, Lee, you could have made so much money, because I'm the type of person, yes, I could have made so much money. Money's good, you know, but I'm the type, as long as I got a roof over my head, food on the table, the bills are paid, and there's a little bit in the bank for a rainy day, I'm happy. Yes, I could have had a lot in the bank for a rainy day, but it's like, you know, I could have guest posed every weekend. But to me, you know, it's just like, if I didn't enjoy that, it stressed me out. Why do it? Yes, it'd be great to have the money, but I'm not one of those people that's going to work myself to death, have all this money, but just never enjoy it. So I'd rather, if a promoter called me up and they go, hey, Lee, this is such and such, we need you to guest pose at this, can you come? I'd be like, yeah, hold on, let me just check my schedule. Looks like I'm busy that weekend. You know, there might have been the Daytona 500 might have been on TV, or a NASCAR race. So it's like, really, you know, my wife Kathy's telling me, like, we got nothing on that weekend. I'm like, or then I'd give them a stupid number sometimes. They're like, Lee, how much to come and guest pose? I'm like, if I normally charge 3 or 4, all expenses, and that I'd say about 8,000, thinking they're going to say no. Then sometimes I go, oh, that sounds good. Okay. I'm like, oh, fuck. Now I've got to go do it.
You're like, at least I'm getting paid double, like, you know. So
I know.
At least that.
Now,
so,
I was just very, very laid back, and just, you know, just went with the flow type thing. I just liked hanging out around Venice, going to the firehouse and chatting to people and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not as crazy as the stories people would hear. Yes, I've done some crazy things, but in general, I'm just pretty laid back.
Yeah, just forget the cocaine stories, and then
exactly. Now, if that was every day or every week, you could say, yes, he is off his head. But, you know,
yeah.
So that's the funny thing, is people, when I do carry on silly, they're like, oh, Lee's on drugs, or he must be on drugs. I'm like, oh, trust me, if I was on him, you'd fucking know. Yeah. You think I'm crazy being normal? You should see me. Well, my grandfather was the same. My grandfather, I'd never seen him in a bad mood. He would get up in the morning singing and dancing and blah, blah, blah. Even when he was in his 80s, he'd be doing that. And I'd be dying for shows sometimes, and I'll be like, why are you so fucking happy all the time? Because, you know, when you're dying for a show, you get miserable, you can't be bothered. He'd come out at 5 a.m. Yeah, it's a lovely morning, let's get going. I'm like, oh, fucking me, shut up. I was like, yes, Christ. I was like, yeah,
that's cool.
But he was always crazy like that.
Now, one of the things that might have cost you money over your career is you're banned by the IFBB. I don't know how many times. I can't even remember, honestly, what you was exactly banned for, even if you know what that is. And that was obviously huge stories. I know you was with muscular development, I think, during some of that time. And I remember reading all this stuff back in the day, you know, through the forum.
That was my last bannings. I actually gave a friend of mine, I was cleaning out some boxes, and I found an old muscle mag from 94. And I think I got my pro card, or 92, 93, I turned pro. I was on the cover of the muscle mag with my fiance at the time, Laurie Donnelly, and in big purple letters, Lee Priest banned Like, fuck, that didn't take long. Only 1 year to get my first ban. And my first ban come from, I would have been one of the youngest to do the Olympia at like 21, probably 22. I would have been on the Olympia stage, but I did it my first Olympia in 97 instead of 94. So yeah, but what happened was I did the Ironman, I think I did the Arnold and then the San Fran, and I qualified to do the Olympia. So I figured, well, this is going to be my first Olympia. I'm only 22. I said, rather than do it, I had to do another show. I think it was the Chicago, or there's a show in between, like mid-year. And I figured, well, I've just done 3 shows now. If I do this one, they've got to diet down again. Then I've only got a couple of months into the Olympia. So rather than being on a diet and taking gear for this long, I figured, I know what, I'll call up Joe. So I called up Joe Weider and said, Joe, look, I've qualified. He's like, oh, that's great, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I got this show to do. Can I not do it and just focus on the Olympia because I'll be like one of the youngest ever? Yeah, that's finally. So I didn't do that show. Next thing, I'm getting calls from people, oh, Lee, Wayne DeMillier's fucking pissed at you. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, well, you're not here at the show and blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, but Joe said I didn't have to do it. So when I spoke to Wayne, I said to Wayne, yeah, Wayne, I heard you're mad because I didn't do the show, but I said that, you know, Joe said I didn't have to. I run these fucking shows, not Joe Weider. Boom, 12-month suspension.
Real, wow. He was like a real dictator in the sport. Hey, like from all the stories I've heard, like it sounds like he did some good things in terms of like, you know, the promotion and stuff.
Promoting that he was great. Yeah, promoting he was great, but on other things he could have been bad. It's like when I won the 2002 San Francisco, a magazine just came out, Muscular Development, where I talked about the politics in the sport and how some of the female judges were sleeping with the male competitors. And I'm always early. I hate being late. So I get to the athletes meeting early. I walk in, Kathy's with me at the time, who I was married to, and Wayne's there, and he's got the magazine. I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm the only one in the room. He goes, Lee, I want to talk to you about this article. I'm like, yeah. He goes, now, what he's saying is political and this and that. And what are you saying the judges sleep? What, the men? I said, you know, Wayne, don't be stupid. I'm not talking about the men judges. You know, it's the females. And he goes, yeah. I said, well, you know what happens, don't you? He goes, yeah. I said, then I'm not lying. He goes, yeah, but you shouldn't be talking about it. I said, they asked me, it's my opinion. I'm just getting, we got into a yelling match. So it's just me and him get louder and louder. Kathy's there. All of a sudden, other athletes start coming in. So we just stop. So the meeting goes ahead. And as we're leaving the meeting, I said to Kathy, oh, fuck, I'm fucked for tomorrow. I said, that's it. I'm not going to place at all. So the show goes ahead. I end up winning. Cormier was second. I think Dexter was third and that. And then I was still backstage because I was doing photos. And so I was one of the last to leave. And Wayne's there. He goes, oh, congratulations, Nat. He goes, oh, you happy you won? I said, well, actually, Wayne, I said, I'm shocked I won because after the argument we had the night before, I didn't think I was going to place. He's like, no, Lee. He goes, I don't hold that against you. He goes, you're in best shape of the day. You deserve to win. He goes, but he goes, yeah, the articles you're right are sort of controversial and stuff. He goes, but he goes, I do respect you for having your own voice. And he goes, oh, in that article, by the way, he goes, you ask, why does this happen and why do things like this happen in the IFBB? He goes, I'll tell you why. He goes, because I might tell you guys to do something. Somebody like you might say no and write an article. I can suspend you, but the other 80 guys are going to do as I say. So that's why. I said, well, at least he was honest about it. So I always respected him that way because he goes, Lee, if I suspend you, the other guys won't step out of line. So it's like,
so
oh, well.
You sort of helped him in a way.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, but then I joked around. They said, yeah, Wayne, but what happens if one day they all stand up? I said, say if we all stand up, then you won't have a contest. He goes, that'll never happen.
Yeah. Well, in the end, he was right. He was right. Because I remember actually reading articles, I think back in the day, I think it was articles, maybe it was something else. I remember seeing you saying like, look, if everyone stood up, you know, and said, you know, we're not going to compete unless we get this for the athletes and all that sort of stuff. And really, I mean, remember that was it PDI or whatever federation that came around?
PDI, yeah.
It was you and a couple of other guys, and that was it. And everyone back then was, you know, I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of the athletes weren't happy with what was happening within the IFBB.
And a lot of them talked about going to the PDI, but then when push come to shove,
they didn't.
There was hardly nobody. It was like at the athletes meeting here in 2003, the press conference, you can find it on YouTube, where I give him, it's like, Lee, you said you'll get up and walk out of here if the athletes didn't get their money. I said, yeah, Wayne, that is right, I would. But by the way, I've got it in writing. So I stood up and handed it to him and he read it. And he goes, well, okay, from that day, the IFBB and Kerry Kays both put in $1,000. So from 10th place down, everyone got $2,000, which was better than nothing. Back in '97, better than nothing. But then Sean and Bob turn up like half hour later at the press conference, and they're saying stuff to Wayne, and Wayne's like, "We've already discussed that, Sean. You weren't here." Because Sean always used to say he got the money for the athletes, but it's on video. I was the one that did it back then. So, then Bob would always say he tried to start a union. I didn't show up because no one wanted to show up, because Bob was holding this thing the night before a contest and no one wanted to come to his meeting. And the true reason was nobody liked Bob Ciccarello. So that's why no one turned up, because he'd always been believed it wasn't for the athletes because he didn't turn up. It's like, no, I just didn't like you and the way you're doing shit. So it had nothing to do with not wanting to show up and stuff. So, yeah, but, it's like I said, the athletes would always complain, but when push come to shove, they wouldn't do anything, which was sad because, it wasn't even a lot of things wanted to change. It's like any sport, boxing, promoters make a lot of money and would get enough little bird crumbs to keep you coming back. But it was just little things athletes wanted. And I'd say to the athletes, look, you got the athletes meeting 2 days before the Mr. Olympia or a day before. It's sold out. Tickets are sold. People have come from all over the world. Sponsors are there. Sponsors have come from different parts of the world or country. They got the fucking expo set up. Do you think if we all walked into the meeting, back then there's sometimes 18 guys in the Olympia, and all 18 of us said, listen, if we don't just get this, this, and this, whether it be health insurance, if we don't get this, none of us are walking on stage tomorrow. I said, do you really think they're going to cancel the show? I said, we have all the things right here in our hands if we all stand together, but no one would stand together. Well, I said, when I got suspended, there'd be people saying, oh, I'm glad Lee's suspended, because guys who I'd beat, they're like, I can move up a place now. Lee's not there. So that's the attitude. It's like you said, if you don't stand together and have that unity, nothing's ever going to work. And sadly, that's how it was. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if some of the guys knew everyone else was going to do it, they go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it. But everyone goes, and then they want the money, you know what I mean? They want that guaranteed money.
But the sad thing was, back then, I used to say, you need the guys at the top, like the Jay Cutlers or the Ronnie Colemans. That, yes, they're making great money. They've got great contracts, but it's not about you. It's about all your fellow bodybuilders. Like, if you're in the Olympia or any pro show, you've worked your ass off to get there. So you should get something, You should, yes, some guys might come in a bit out of shape and shit, but generally, if you're in that top Olympia, which you call the Super Bowl, everyone should make decent money. And the guys up the top who were Mr. Olympia, they're the ones who should say, listen, I'm Mr. Olympia. If these guys don't get paid, I'm not going to turn up either. So, you got to look out for everyone, not just yourself. But sadly, it's an ego-driven sport with some people. It's all about me, me, me. They don't care about anybody else. But if everyone stood together, could have changed a lot for the better.
Hope you guys enjoyed part one of my two-part interview with Lee Priest, Australia's greatest bodybuilder of all time. Let me know what you think in the comments about everything that Lee had to say in this interview. Plus, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way, be notified when part two goes up and every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. Also, let me know in the comments below, who do you want to see in future interviews as well. And if you want to support me and support this channel, head over to hdmuscle.com, enter the code DESKTOP. You'll save yourself 10% on some amazing supplements. They're a great Christmas gift, or just gift yourself if you're running out of the pre-workouts. You've got stim-free pre-workouts, you've got stim pre-workouts, they've got protein, they've got intra-workout stuff, they've got kidney and liver health supplements, they've got a whole range of stuff. Plus, they're very transparent on their labels as well, so you know exactly what you're getting. It's made by Dorian Hamilton, and he's the owner of Pure Muscle and Fitness, and he's coached many top IFBB Pro Bodybuilders as well, so make sure you do check them out. So that's it for me. For Xavier Wills and Lee Priest, we are out.